Hi, guys. Welcome to Real Food Recovery. I am very excited about this podcast today, and you will be too when you hear a little bit about who we have. I will go ahead and tell you the secret, and who we have today is Anne Poirier. Did I say that right?
You sure did. Thank you, Paige, for
Woohoo!
woohoo,
Look at
yeah,
me.
good start.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. She is a body image expert and author, founder of the Body Joyful Revolution. She is a nationally recognized body image expert, certified eating disorder specialist, and best-selling author of The Body Joyful: My Journey from Self-Loathing to Self-Acceptance and Not a Fat Annie. With over 4 decades in the health and wellness industry, she has helped thousands of individuals of all shapes, sizes, and ages reclaim their confidence, health, and self worth through her groundbreaking non diet Body Joyful Solution and Body Joyful Revolution community. A pioneer in the body neutrality movement, Anne's work bridges personal experience and professional expertise. After overcoming her own battle with eating disorders, body shame, and compulsive exercise, she has dedicated her career to helping others break free from diet culture and redefine health on their own terms. Anne's insights have been featured in major outlets including the New York Times, the Washington Post, Shape, Women's Health, HuffPost, Fortune, Livestrong, ABC, Fox, CBS, and NPR. She has appeared on more than 85 podcasts, now 86,
Yay.
including the Holderness Family Podcast, Conscious Living, Thriving Beyond Size, and The Eating Disorder Trap. Her major accomplishments include publishing The Body Joyful, developing the neutrality playbook, partnering with researchers Kayla Nuss and on the No Way app, and serving as director of behavioral health at Hilton Head Health. She also serves on the National Eating Disorders Association Lived Experience Task Force and leads Shaping Perspectives, A Woman's Way to Joy. Anne's mission is to create a cultural shift towards body respect, self acceptance, and holistic well being, inspiring individuals to model those values for future generations and redefine what it means to feel truly at home in their bodies. Welcome, Anne. I am beyond thrilled and honored to have you here today. And I always like to start out asking my guests, what brought you to this moment in your life to where you were pointed in this direction? My standard question is, did you have a light bulb moment, or was it a dimmer switch moment that kind of pushed you in this direction in your life? Because you've accomplished so much that had to start from somewhere.
Yeah, I like to say that my purpose came from my past, from the struggles that I went through. And because of that, it was a slow dimmer switch. It took me quite a while actually to
Hmm.
kind of realize that, enough was enough and that I had to try to figure something else out
Hmm.
because what I was doing wasn't working. So I started early in life, right around 8, 9, 10, which is when I talk to
Yeah,
clients. That's a lot of the times when body image issues start to come up,
for
and
girls especially.
especially, right? And I just internalized the messages around me. And through the writing of The Body Joyful, when I went back to take a look at it, kind of did my own like body life timeline, I realized there
Hmm.
were a lot of messaging from my parents,
That's what I
from
was going to ask.
yeah,
Hmm.
family, parents, school, doctors,
Hmm.
all of those things. There are these three particular moments. One, a nickname from my brother, which, brothers are good at that. And and he was just being
Yes.
just being a brother, right?
Hmm.
And it really wasn't even that bad of a nickname, but just due to what was going on around me and the words and phrases that I heard as a baby and a toddler and a young person, stocky and sturdy and oh, look at those chubby little cheeks and those kinds of messages. And then having my mom and dad always weigh every single day, checking
Yeah.
in on their weight, all of those things just
Hmm.
led me to say, something's wrong with my body. and I
Mm-hmm.
probably ought to start doing something about that because something is wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where my dieting history began in
Mm-hmm.
when I was about 10 years old.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Which that's kind of young, do you think, or is that more standard? Is that on the younger spectrum of the scale?
I think then it was.
Yeah.
I think now it's not as much, unfortunately.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, my daughters have daughters, and like you said, we're probably close to the same age. When I grew up, my parents weighed every day. And so I didn't think there was anything strange about that. And guess what? I weighed every day too.
Mm.
So, I mean, now as an adult, I did. As a kid, I didn't, but I was a spindly kid. But once I became, a teenager, then I'm like, okay, well, I better be weighing every day too. Not because they said you have to. I just noticed that, okay, this is a priority and we want to stay on top of it. And back then, I don't know if you remember Tab, the
Oh
drink
yeah, of
Tab.
course. Yes.
That's, I mean, my parents were drinking Tab and on diets and things like that. And,
Hmm.
I think genetically, I'm probably predisposed to be a little bit heavier too. We don't have those super slim genes that some people are gifted with. So, yeah, I noticed that it was a concern. And
Hmm.
my parents are very fit and active and do have controlled weight, but I was exposed to that. So
Yeah.
that's a long way of answering that. My daughters now do not allow any conversation about weight or diet or anything like
Hmm.
that to be said because they don't want their girls to have that impression upon them,
Yeah.
which I I think is good, but also they're going to pick it up at school too. And I think it's good to have a little bit of a solid baseline for understanding around the language too, and that we just worry about healthy bodies and what we eat and things like that. But there, I do know it's a different generation now, I guess is a long way of what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think the generations are turning. So I think our generation, it would have been young to be connected to an eating disorder in the 1970s because it didn't really come out until the
Now,
1980s.
when the
Yeah.
processed food industry
Yeah.
came to
Yep.
being, do you want to talk about that at all before we get into some other stuff? Do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, well, that is so interesting because my first diet was, quote unquote, very effective because it landed me into the hospital. It's so interesting, right? You
Uh-huh.
go, something's wrong with me. And so I connected food, right? Plus I had a doctor's appointment going into seventh grade. So I was going from elementary school to middle school.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctor weighed me and marked my chart at the time. And so we are talking early 70s, and told my mom, you better watch what she eats.
Did
And
you have
so
a weight struggle as a
I
child?
was at the top end of my scale.
Mm-hmm.
Not I just was stocky and sturdy.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
think now looking back, I'm like, yeah, my mom was right. I was just like a stocky girl.
Mm-hmm.
And but I was adopted. My brother was adopted. My
Mm-hmm.
brother is tall and lean, blonde
Mm-hmm.
haired and freckled.
Yeah, genetics. It's genetics do play a part. You
Yep.
know.
Yeah, and I'm different, right? Didn't really
Mm-hmm.
look like my parents and or my brother, and so my body was different. And what happened was food rules changed at home. And then when I got to middle school and I couldn't get the fit into the clothes that the other kids were wearing, and I remember distinctly the husky section at Sears, that
Oh,
it was
yes.
right. it
Yep.
I have talked to so many people that go, oh yeah, the husky section. And so those are the messages that I got. And that's when I kind of started this controlling of my weight. And then I just basically disappeared. And my mom knew something was going on. She couldn't get through to me. I was lying through my teeth. The
Mm-hmm.
disorder had taken over. And she got me to a psychiatrist that helped me enough. I did end up in the hospital for about a month, but I really don't remember much of about 3 years of my life. So between the
Oh,
ages of 12, 13, and 14,
oh,
not
the
much
eating
of,
disorder
hmm
started early.
yeah. So that I got enough help to be kind of okay. And my addictive behavior around food and controlling food in order to, kind of go back to school and be a normal kid, I wanted to play soccer. And so that was kind of the deal that my parents made with me. If you sustain a certain weight, then we will let you try out for the soccer team. And so my obsession just switched
Yeah.
from food and the obsession on food to the obsession about exercise and
Mm-hmm.
moving my body. And so I was able to sustain my weight, but I wasn't really healthy. And that really
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately lasted through college. I had a relapse in college with an eating disorder due to a coach that weighed us all in front of the team and spun me into another episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I went into the fitness industry to try to control my weight.
You'll show them.
Exactly, right? Watch me.
Uh-huh. You know what's interesting? All of this that you're talking about just brings me back to that human need of being accepted, being a part of, I mean, our number one need as humans are to feel a part of, and then you fill in the blank, whatever that is for you.
Hmm.
And it just goes to show that that is exactly, don't you think that's such a driver behind so much of this?
Absolutely. I think that we want to fit in and we want to belong. And I've done a lot of, research with Brene Brown and her distinction between fitting in and belonging. And boy, did when you're in middle school, all you want to do is fit in. So you learn how to show up with different people and how to act and how to talk and how to dress. And so you morph into who you think you should be, depending on who you're with.
And like you were saying before, is you're going to do anything, lie, sneak, cheat, steal in order to not have that compromised.
You got it. You got
Mhm.
it. It it
Inter
it leads to just a lot of disordered thinking. Hmm.
Totally. Because, and especially we're talking about young people whose brains aren't developed too. You
Hmm.
don't have the wisdom and the maturity to think through this and go, if somebody doesn't like me, that's on them. Well, n no young kid is gonna the earth would come to an end before you would think that, right?
Right. It's so true. And so you do anything that you could, and that's basically what I did. So I just tried to find ways that I could fit into a specific group, right up. The book lays out beautifully, The Body Joyful lays out beautifully the thoughts and beliefs of who I thought I was, and then the choices and decisions that I made due to those beliefs about my body and food and exercise and my self-esteem. And it's
Yeah.
just so interesting how it plays out in all kinds of ways, trying to get
Mhm.
noticed, trying to be seen, trying to fit in, trying to make my parents proud, all of those things that go along with it. I remember being after the eating disorder period of time, my parents, it was a tough time for them, wanting to be
Sure.
the good girl. I need to be the good girl because I put them through so much trauma and shame and struggle
Hmm.
that now I didn't want to be a problem at all. So I tried to do everything that I could to be the good girl.
Yeah.
Mm.
And how'd that work out?
I, I wonder if I keep trying, I continue to keep trying.
Are your parents still living?
No, actually, I just lost my dad back in February at 98 years old.
Oh
So
my goodness gracious.
I know, very
That's great.
long and great lives. I mean, I look back at my parents and boy, they did the best with what they knew, right? But
That's that was on the tip of my tongue asking, did they ever completely understand what it was that you were going through?
I don't think so. And it was really hard, even in his later years. My dad had a kind of a picture of what the correct body size was, and so
Oh, mhm.
I just let it go because it was I was never going to change it, and so I
I
just
th
ignored any comments.
I don't you think that's a healthy statement? And it's not our job to make other people understand. You got to take care of yourself first. Put your oxygen mask on first,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you can't pour from an empty cup.
100%, 100%. Mm-hmm.
and you just stay in your own lane and you're an example, and that's where the responsibility ends right there.
Yeah, I love that statement. I love that you said that because it is uh, our ability to role model as healthy a
Yeah.
behavior as that we can, for our
Mm-hmm.
next generation. And this is my body. This is my business. I'm going to take care of my body. You can take care of
Mm-hmm.
your body. Your body's not my
Mm-hmm.
business.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way I kind of continue to coach people today in that same, you're the only one that knows when you're hungry. And
Mm-hmm.
is it true hunger or is it something else? And then we
Oh,
can
yeah.
roll into all of those kinds of things. But it is autonomy, body autonomy and self-worth, trying to connect
Mm-hmm.
into self-worth
Mm-hmm.
regardless of weight and size, which our culture unfortunately has put those two things together.
Yeah. And so our job is just to break these generational norms, right?
Hmm.
Reduce generational trauma and try and set our families up for better moving forward. I love
Right,
that.
right. That is the goal.
You talk about body neutrality a lot, and let's talk about how it differs from body positivity, because I've got an opinion about body positivity, that movement, but
Hmm.
I'm going to tick a lock on it, and I want to hear what you have to say, and then I'll share what I think
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, well, body positivity was like a fat activist movement that back in the 60s. And then it was kind of co-opted by other people. Um, that was not the direction it really was built on, the foundation it was built on. And it really is based in appearance. And so body neutrality it unlocked a lot for me. Put it this way, I think embracing the concept of body neutrality for me and then developing a way to live that way every day changed everything because I just shifted the focus completely away from appearance and I just focused on the function of my body, the things that it does every day, how it
Hmm.
shows up for me every single day, all it has been through. I mean, it's been through a lot. I haven't treated it very well. How can I respect it,
Hmm.
listen to it, and respect it from this point going forward, as opposed to try to push it and change it and think it's a problem. I always
Hmm.
thought my body was a problem, and body neutrality allows me to shift the lens, and that's the key.
And I agree. And on the surface, that sounds beautiful.
Hmm.
Let's tell that to a 16-year-old girl.
Hmm.
And so, what would you say to, I'm going to say, especially women? I don't know if you agree with that, but we are very self-conscious
Hmm.
about our bodies. And I would love to say, yep, I'm there. I'm totally got that body neutrality and I live in gratitude every day. And I'm not worried about how do I look in these pants and all those things. I would love to say I'm so evolved that I have finally arrived. I'm in nirvana with that. But how do you break that down for the average bear that's going, I don't know what she's talking about it, and I don't have a clue how I would ever get there. I mean, I can be a little bit grateful, but I still want to, wear a bikini in the summer.
Yeah,
I'm being extreme, but you understand what I'm asking.
yeah, yeah.
Where
I
where do
think
you start with that?
I really start at taking a look at where some of the belief systems have come
Hmm.
from. We have been given these belief systems. I think about it as like, here, believe this about bodies. You're supposed to believe this about bodies, and then the world tells
Hmm.
you that. And if you think the world thinks this is about bodies, that's what you're going to find. We find proof everywhere. If we believe something is to be true, we will see it to be true, and we will prove it to ourselves. And so
Hmm.
it is this starting the journey is decoupling weight and worth because they aren't connected. And so I do an exercise when I start with people that is really connected to who are you as a human being. And so I will have a person close their eyes and think about a couple of their really good friends and tell them to think about why they like their friends. Why do they like the people that they like? And as they go through the reasons that they like somebody, I ask at the end, does it have anything to do with the size of their bodies?
Oh, I love that. Zing!
And it doesn't.
It
And then I
just
flip
doesn't.
it, and then I flip it onto that person who likes you. What do you
Hmm.
bring to the table? What is it about you? And once we start to realize that who we are, like this body is just our vessel,
Mm-hmm.
it's always changing sizes. It's going to
Mm-hmm.
change sizes. And if we learn to listen and respect it, we feed it differently. We treat it differently. We
Mm-hmm.
listen to it when it's full. We listen to it when
Mm-hmm.
it's hungry. We try to take care of it if it's anxious or if we're depressed or we're struggling. We learn tools and techniques to help us during those times rather than turning to behaviors that might not support us. So it's kind of connected, it all comes kind of back in a
Mm-hmm.
loop.
Mm-hmm. And can we just say that that does take work more
Oh,
than
for
just a
sure.
simple
Hmm.
conversation, and we never have expected anybody to get that right
Right, exactly.
from the beginning.
Yeah, it takes practice and patience and just consistent awareness of our internal voice, of our inner
Hmm.
critic, of every time you look in the mirror, of every time you put on a pair of pants. It's curating our own social media feeds. It's
Oh,
really
good point.
it's a lot of little things that we can do to help set ourselves up for a better way of thinking for our own bodies.
I that you struck a nerve there that I never thought about before about curating your social media feed
Mhm.
because man, can it make you feel what's the word that your mom said your mom used? Sturdy?
Stocky and sturdy.
Yeah, it can make you
Bull
feel
in a
stuck.
china shop.
Yeah, uh-huh,
Yeah.
all those things.
Yeah.
All of the above. That's
Right.
boy, that can just sure social media can make you it's not healthy all the time, right?
Right.
But I love that idea of let's just take an inventory
Hmm.
of who we're following and what the subliminal messages are. If you have an influencer in her tight little sports top with
Yeah.
her midriff showing and, six pack abs, and she's talking about something else, there's messages there, right?
For sure. And then there's comparison, right? I mean, we're
Oh,
comparison
the
beings.
thief of joy.
Yep. And we tend to start to compare. And then the next thing you know, we feel bad about ourselves. And before you know it, we're turned into something to make us feel better, which probably ends up being in the fridge or, it's that loop.
Totally.
Mm.
Totally. Can we, this is getting a little bit, I'm jumping around, but all these things you're talking about leads me to what I've really been on lately. At Real Food Recovery, we, of course, help people recover from the effects of ultra-processed food use disorder. And I'm really heavily leaning in to nervous system regulation,
Hmm. For
starting
sure.
there. And
100%.
do you want to talk about that a little bit and how you with that,
Hmm.
work that into your program?
Absolutely. I worked through kind of the intuitive eating lens. So I talk about emotions and emotional eating. At least at my age, I was not taught to feel my emotions at all. I was
Yeah, why would you do
hot,
that?
hot, like don't be
That.
don't be loud, don't be angry, don't cry, don't show
Mm-hmm.
emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And so then all of a sudden begin to believe that emotions are bad and I shouldn't feel like this. And
Mm-hmm.
so I talk with people about what an emotion feels like, because emotion kind of hits us in the body, right? It hits us and we're like tight chest or stomach gut
Mm-hmm.
or a tight throat or, our
Mm-hmm.
jaws clenching. And so how do we recognize and become aware of what we are feeling? And I'm sure you've heard the term name it to tame it, right? Can I name
Mm-hmm.
this emotion? What am I feeling? Where did it come from? And so, if we can kind of turn the lens when we are hit with an emotion towards curiosity, that can allow us to take a few deep breaths so we can start to regulate that nervous system and be able to make a little bit better conscious or rational decision about what we need rather than a reaction towards something that's going to make us feel better,
Mm-hmm.
which doesn't have to be food. It can be food. Food works, but there are a lot of other things that work too, right?
And that's what the food addicted brain thinks there's only one solution to this, and it's
Mhm.
in the cupboard. And if you don't get it, you are going to die.
I know.
And you need it right now.
Mm.
I love what you said about name it to tame it because so often I kept hearing people saying, "Where do you feel it in your body?" And I'm like, I really don't understand how that's going to help me. And
Mm.
so, what I have started doing with people that I'm working with is I'll talk about where do you feel it in your body,
Hmm.
and then let's put our hand right there. And
Hmm.
so now let's give it a voice. If it had a voice, what would it be saying to you? And that sometimes helps people get to it a little bit easier,
Hmm.
where you can articulate it more easily, and then we're able to do something about
Yeah.
it.
I sometimes am it's very similar. Where do you feel it in your body? And if you were to describe it to a 5-year-old, how would you describe it?
Oh, I love that.
What would that sound like? And then
Mm-hmm.
with your voice, I love the voice. And sometimes I ask, and it's not necessarily regarding emotions, but it's around regards to self-talk. I ask, who's talking? Whose
Oh, I
voice
never.
is that? Right?
Oh, I love that.
So
Love
my
that.
husband and I have a joke. So sometimes he hears my dad come out of my voice. And so my dad's name is Chuck, and he'll go, "Hi, Chuck." And
Uh-huh.
I'll laugh, and it softens things, right?
Yeah.
Because it's definitely an old program,
Hmm.
that's been repeated thousands of times. It's no wonder that it comes out every once in a while, especially when I might be
Hmm.
stressed or overwhelmed. But it
Hmm.
becomes a joke between the two of us, and it softens the energy. And I'm like, oh, wow. I just take a deep breath and show myself a little bit of compassion and go, yep, he just wants to be able to hang around.
Yeah.
Continue,
Yeah.
continue,
He
continue to
doesn't
hang
want to be
around.
forgotten.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
right, for sure.
Yeah, I love
So,
that. Well, when you're working with people, when you're trying to educate them on nervous system regulation, which honestly now I believe is the cure-all
hmm.
to eating or for me, ultra processed food use
Hmm.
disorder. Do you have a few tricks or tools that you start with people that are like a fail-proof? This works every time. This is a good place to start.
Well, I start with a quote that comes from Viktor Frankl in A Man's Search for Meaning, and you're probably
Mm-hmm.
familiar, right? Between
Yeah.
stimulus and response, there's a space. And in
Mm-hmm.
that space is our ability to respond. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. We think as soon as we get an emotional hit that there is that I have to, right? But there is space because we have to stand up, go to the kitchen, pull out a knife or a fork or what, like
Uh-huh.
there are steps along the way.
Unless you're
So
a
if we can,
caveman and
I
you're
know.
just going right in, right?
This is right there. It's been there staring at you. But if we can create a little bit of space, and that's what I think that curiosity can be. If we can tap into a couple of deep breaths, right? I mean, we hear it all the time.
Totally.
Can I just, can I do, I like the double inhale, extended exhale kind of breath. If I can do a couple of those, then I can slow myself down. I can create some space. And then in that space, I can say, okay, what's going on right now? What am I feeling?
Mm-hmm.
Where am I? If I can bring myself down out of that
Mm-hmm.
fight, flight, freeze place,
Mm-hmm.
then I'm able to actually maybe be able to find another tool from my toolbox that can help me ask me what I need, and then bring myself to a different place in my body. So
I
the
love that.
breath is I know it's like, somebody once told me it's like bringing a toothpick to a sword fight. And I thought that was such a good analogy because it's kind of right, but it works every time.
I agree. And it travels well.
Hmm.
I was on a trip last week and I always get nervous anxiety. First of all, I'm wound really tight, so that predisposes me to have a little anxiety. And, you're at the airport, you're shuffling around luggage, you're out of your routine, you're off your eating routine, sleeping routine, bowel routine, everything. You're overstimulated and undernourished and all
Hmm.
those things. So, what I'm like, okay, I'm going to give myself an experiment this week. I'm going to really work on the 5 deep breaths where you breathe in and then you do one quick one at the top and then you
Mm.
slowly breathe out. And also what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw in a few preemptive ones just for extra measure, and it won't cost me anything more than what I'm already paying for those other deep breaths. And so I never thought about that before, about doing the preemptive breathing, but it really was helpful. And
Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah. So anyway, that's just, I was chuckling to myself. And I try to inconspicuously kind of put my hand on my chest. If I can,
Mm,
put my hand on my gut so that I'm not standing out with a neon sign on my back. But if I can do it, very subtly, that's very calming too. Or even if you can just kind of rub on the chest, like we
mhm,
did a lot of driving too. We were on a hiking in southern Utah, and there was a lot of time between hikes that it takes a while to get there. And so just a few little inconspicuous little, because I have ADD. Have had that since I was a kid, which usually travels in tandem. I'm sure you're
mhm.
aware of this with
Yeah.
people with food use disorder. They go together. It's a dopamine
Mhm,
issue. So if you can just do a little rubby on
mhm,
your chest, it's like, oh, mother to child, oxytocin, calming.
mhm.
So I've
Yeah.
hijacked your answers, but
No,
that is,
perfect. It's perfect. I think that
mm-hmm.
that's the key is just to give yourself the opportunity. And I also think about the breathing. Can we practice breathing, much to your proemptive kind of taking some deep breaths? Can we actually practice deep breathing and a breath practice when we're not anxious so that maybe we
Yeah,
might be able to call upon it easier when we are?
I love that. Love
So,
that.
yeah.
And I know the textbooks would tell you the order of nervous system regulation. It starts with breath work and then the self-talk. But I really kind of like to overlap that a little bit. Do you have an
Mhm.
opinion on that? Because I love the you're okay,
Yes.
you're okay, you're
Hmm.
okay. Because that seems to bring that blood flow back to the frontal lobe
Yeah.
just like a charm.
It's a calming, you're giving yourself a calming voice. The
Hmm.
calming tone, something that's not everything's wonderful, it's not sunshine and lollipops,
Rainbows.
right? It's the rainbows or whatever. It's like I'm gonna be okay. I'm doing the best I can. I'm working through this. It's all right. Right? Those kinds of phrases that are more neutral, right?
Hmm.
If you think about body neutrality, it's like self-talk that's kind of neutral and
Hmm.
baseline that just can allow that space to get a little bit greater.
Yeah, not only that is I like what you said about it's a calm voice, but it's also laced with authority. Don't
Hmm.
you think? Because the
Yeah,
brain only knows what you tell it. And if
exactly.
and if you're telling the brain, you're okay. I've got you.
Hmm.
Nothing to see here, nothing to worry about. Your brain will go, oh, okay, she must be in charge. She must know what she's talking about. I guess I'm gonna try this. So
Yeah, yeah. And I think sometimes to allow people to realize they have made it through the very hardest times of their life already, which means
Mhm.
they are capable of more than they think. And sometimes that,
Oh, totally.
right, that reminder can be really helpful in times of feeling that anxiety.
And don't you think when you start learning this nervous system regulation, you had no idea that you had this much power,
Hmm.
access to this much power? You don't have to worry. What is your self-talk like? I hate going to restaurants. It does give me super anxiety. I never know what's in the food, and it's just a vulnerable position. I Some people are great at that. I'm never. I shouldn't say I'm never going to be good because I'm breaking my own rule, but it's just not a easy place for me. And I was
Hmm.
telling that to someone. I was telling them about an experience where I had to go out to dinner and I'm like, I failed every other time. I'm probably going to fail this time too. And they're like, listen to your self-talk. You're talking
Hmm.
yourself into failing before you've even gotten there. Flip the script and say, I've got this. When I lay my head on my pillow tonight, I'm going to be so happy about the choices I made. And I'm going to
Hmm.
work backwards from that thought and start making choices from there. This will be over in an hour. Look at the wallpaper, look at the painting, think of questions to ask.
Hmm.
You're so strong. You're so smart. You're so capable. You can do this. And you had talked about this a little bit earlier about figuring out if you really are hungry or not. And there's something about being put in that position where your eyeballs are stimulated, your nasals, nasal olfactory stimulation is going on. And you've got a history of food addiction. So
Yeah.
it's really difficult. So
Right.
anyway, do you want to talk a little bit about understanding when you are actually hungry versus, I call it irrational hunger when I get nervous.
Yeah.
That when you're nervous, then the first thing that happens to me is that irrational hunger. I can solve this.
Yeah, exactly. Because I know exactly where it's coming from. And I think that
Hmm.
there's a point, when on the start of this journey, I always say, let's thank the food because the food
Oh, I love
probably,
that.
it probably helped you in a hard environment when you were a kid or a teenager. And so, why wouldn't you have, if it worked for you then, why wouldn't it work for you now? Now
Mm-hmm.
you're just starting to realize that it's not helpful. So let's start to
Mm-hmm.
develop a pattern of tuning into the body and starting to respect the body. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where the body image piece can be really connected because if I hate my body, I'm not gonna listen to it. I've either fed it too
Mm-hmm.
much or fed it not
Mm-hmm.
enough, right? And so why
Mm-hmm.
would my body even like I think there's got to be a two-way street.
Yeah.
We have to start to learn to trust the body, and the body has to learn
Mm-hmm.
to trust you on
Yeah.
both sides. And that's where the connection starts to happen. But we have to slow down, bring that prefrontal cortex back online in order to be able to do
Mm-hmm.
any of that.
Yeah, I've heard the saying, no one's ever hated themselves into recovery,
Hmm.
which is what I'm when you say, you can't hate your body
Hmm.
and expect wonderful results. You want to be in partnership, right? You want to
Hmm.
be an ally with your body
Right.
instead of have this adversarial uh, relationship. You were kind of hinting at internal family systems. Do you work with internal family systems and parts work?
No, I really don't, but I think about the relationship though completely, when it comes to the body and our relationship with our body, I use a theory, I call it the good gift, bad gift theory.
Mm,
And so um, we talk about what happens when you get a good gift. And when you get a good gift, we just take care of it because somebody just knew us so well and they gave us something that they knew we would like and we treasure it. It's just what we do. And then when we get a bad gift, after we kind of go, I wonder what they were thinking. It just kind of it just kind of, goes in the back of a closet. It maybe gets regifted or goes to Goodwill.
mm-hmm,
But I think that these things are almost like a little under the consciousness level, right? I
mm-hmm,
just take care of it because I like it. I I don't know where it is. I put it somewhere. I don't know where it is because it just wasn't important to us. And so if we're thinking of our bodies like a bad gift, like this is not the body I signed up for. This isn't what I keep trying to change it and it's not working. And then I'm beating myself up all the time. On the underside, like how am I actually taking care of it? Am I even listening to it
mm-hmm,
if I'm feeling that way on the outside?
mm-hmm,
And so that's the way the body and how we feel about the body gets connected to the self-talk and
mm-hmm,
how the self-talk gets connected to the emotions and the behaviors, right? It's kind
mm-hmm,
of that CBT kind of track and
mm-hmm,
deciphering some of that. Where
mm-hmm,
is that coming from? What's it leading to?
mm-hmm,
I have to be aware of the behaviors that aren't serving me to figure out
mm-hmm.
what's driving those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I love what you had mentioned, which made me ask about the internal family systems, is you had said that a lot of people started from an early age using food to cope,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
took the bag of Doritos into my bedroom underneath the covers
Mm-hmm.
and would pull out a chip one at a time because I certainly wasn't advertising that to
Mm-hmm.
anybody in the family or the Oreos. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not advertising I'm taking the package to
Mm-hmm.
my room. But I love what you said about thanking your body for trying to protect you
Mm-hmm.
during those early years because again, saying to that younger part of you, I know that this worked for you when you were younger and I know you're trying to keep me safe, but right now we're going to try a couple of different things first and in saying that, the hopes is it'll pull you out of that trauma drive and allow
Hmm.
that part to relax so it can go
Right.
back into the corner. You can have a little nap, and I'm
Hmm.
going to let you know if I need you. I know you're right over there, but to
Right.
keep it off balance so it's not just panic trying to protect you,
Yeah.
which I'm sure that crosses all addictions, that
Right.
those parts of us are just trying to keep us from the stress.
Yeah. I use a very kind of snarky term that I learned when I first
Oh, goody. I
I
can't
that I
wait.
learned first with with my negative because of very critical inner voice. And so I started to just say thanks for sharing. Well,
Oh, no, I
thanks for
like.
sharing. That's
Uh-huh.
interesting. But I think I'm going to
Uh-huh.
try thinking this
Uh-huh.
way. You know what I mean? Like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you had alluded to this, being able to shift our self-talk and
Yes.
comment. It's like it's a superpower and to treat it like
I
that.
love it. Yes, I love that. We need t-shirts made.
Yes. And little capes. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Not all heroes wear red capes. But it's like you said earlier, it does take practice, and I don't want
Mhm.
anybody to think, oh, okay, I'm supposed to be doing this self-talk and it's supposed to work. Not right away, not always,
No. Yeah.
but it gives you hope that there is a way out of this. When you were talking, you did that eloquent Viktor Frankl phrase, but and I am going to say it in a crude way. It's the pause button, that big red pause button that I
Hmm.
think there's a commercial for Home Depot or something like that, because that's, I mean, once we learn impulse control, once we're able to hit that pause button, it really is the difference between success and failure. Agree?
100%. I agree. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
It's that is what we're trying to get at,
Mm-hmm.
and the things that we experiment with. I like to use the word experiment. Let's experiment with this to see if this
Mm-hmm.
works for you. How do you feel if
Mm-hmm.
after you take a few deep breaths, you step outside and notice three things about, your outdoors,
Yeah, what do you
something.
hear?
Yeah,
What do you
what do
see?
you
What do
got
you
it?
feel?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's
that's, yeah, I think recovery is all under the umbrella of impulse control. And then all it is practice,
yeah.
practice, practice, practice,
And then
repeat, repeat.
to not think it's all or nothing, right?
Yes.
And to give yourself grace. I
Mm-hmm.
say there's really no amount of food that's worse than the shame and the guilt that you feed yourself afterwards, because that just
Mm-hmm.
drives the same feelings forward.
And the biggest problem is when you get a craving or a hunger or something, when you've got these deep neural pathways that have
Hmm.
been embedded for decades, decades, that have the craving get straight to the kitchen. There's no pause button. It does feel like an emergency. There is something in the brain that says, if you don't get this right now, you will die.
Hmm.
Do you want to talk about that strong messaging that comes from you got to have it and you got to have it right now? And there is nothing else that can solve it
Because nothing else has ever worked before. It
because
is
you've not
all you
tried
know.
anything.
Exactly. It's all you know. And it is
Mm-hmm.
that pathway it's become a habit loop. So there's
Mm-hmm.
not anything else. I think about the pathways in our brain that are calling to whatever that is. Like if you were to go to a college campus and they have the paved pathways, but there's a shorter distance between one building and the next, the kids are going to walk that path and they're going to trample down the grass. And the next thing you know, they have to pave another sidewalk because it's
Mm-hmm.
been trampled that much.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the pathways. And I think about if there was no one to mow any of the grass, if you want to change the way you think or the
Oh,
thought pattern or the habit loop, you have to step into the weeds. And that's just not comfortable.
it's
It just it feels, technical
an,
term, yucky. I don't want to go there. I'm much better at this. I'd rather do this because I know this works.
have you heard the phrase, I would rather stay in a familiar hell than an unfamiliar heaven? The
Hmm.
brain's job is just to keep you safe, and it's always scanning to keep you safe.
Hmm.
And if it don't know what's in the weeds, it ain't
Yeah.
gonna. It's going to keep you. I know doesn't work, but I'm still going to keep you right here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's the definition of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over
Yes.
again, expecting a different result.
Yes.
And it is giving yourself permission to try something different. And
Yeah.
that,
And
allowing that.
hmm
Yeah, I love the word permission.
yeah. And can I just say again, it goes back to it's going to feel uncomfortable the first time, and
Hmm.
maybe you last 5 seconds the first time. Maybe
That's a
this
win.
Yes, maybe the second time you last 10 seconds.
Hmm.
Maybe on your 20th time, you're actually going to make a different choice. I say to the members in our group, I only have one rule, and that's don't give up. That's
Hmm.
the only rule I
Yeah,
have. Otherwise, there's no rules here. We're
yeah,
just trying, we're throwing spaghetti at the wall, pun intended, to see what sticks.
yeah. Keep trying different things. And
Hmm
and instead of, when, because I use that term, like when you have an eating episode that you weren't planning, like how do you learn from it instead of beat yourself up? Like the beating yourself up, as you
Talk about
had
that.
mentioned, right?
hmm
So
It's so
so
helpful.
I
It's
know.
so effective. Please
Yeah.
expand on that.
How's it working for you? I always say.
Yeah, uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Can we? That's what I think about. Body neutrality kind of is in the middle of the body image continuum, hate on one side and love on the other. And what I
Mm-hmm.
think is on the middle of self-talk and self-hatred and self-compassion is this place of curiosity. And can I go,
Yes.
wow, instead of beating myself up for eating the bag of burritos or whatever, wow, what was I feeling? Like who was around? I have the image of Curious George that flashes in my head, the yellow monkey, and that
Mm-hmm.
just it softens the thought process. And I'm like, what would Curious George see from the moments before? Like what happened? What was going on? Is this
Mm-hmm.
from yesterday? Did something happen? Did somebody talk to me? Where did that come from? So I can learn from the eating episode rather than beating myself up and then ending up having another one later in the same day.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's this space of curiosity and non-judgment that does take it is in the weeds, it feels uncomfortable, but for many people it's easier than um, everything's okay, or um, instead of the self-hatred, the self-compassion might not quite come. So the curiosity can be a little bit easier for us to swallow than
And
you're
that
doing
it
nothing.
I also think curiosity is a growth word. It's a learning word. It's a an introspection word to where, okay, the other thing I like to tell people is if we've had a history of having, I call them side steps instead of binges, because that just sounds prettier.
Yeah.
And in the past, if you would have had a sidestep, would that have gone on for days or weeks? This was an isolated, a couple hour thing or whatever it
Whatever.
was. Can we also pull out a few silver linings so that if we turn 180 degrees and look backwards, my husband used to say you can only connect the dots moving backwards. So if
Mm,
you turn backwards and start connecting the dots, can you see how far you've come?
yeah.
And so you don't beat yourself up saying I wasn't perfect, I'm still binging. Yeah, okay, but what does that look like now versus
Yeah.
the years of effort that you have put in? That it's working.
Yeah.
This is slow, and I tell people when they sign up with us, this is not a diet program.
Yeah.
This is a recovery program. I'm never going to say to you, you're going to lose 5 pounds in 3 weeks, guarantee. I mean, that's not, we don't even talk about a food plan. I'm like single ingredient foods, whether you're vegan or carnivore, it would behoove me to tell you what your body is going to respond to. And
Mhm.
so it goes back to exactly what you said about let's experiment.
Yeah.
Let's just
Yeah.
see. And that's the only way you're going to see what is calming and doesn't trigger cravings and things like that. We'll see.
Yeah. I love the looking back too, because that is where we can connect the dots and we can start to realize how far we've come and the progress that we're making, and to
Totally.
allow us to say, you know what, I may have had a misstep, but hey, I'm doing better than I had before. That and
Mhm.
that's progress for. I
Do,
like the phrase evidence of effort. It's just evidence of effort, right? It's, because afterwards you're like, that wasn't what I planned. But
hmm
it only wasn't what you planned because of the fact that you were trying something new.
hmm
So it's just
Exactly.
evidence of effort. Mm.
Yeah. All of this really has been circling back. By the way, I've loved this conversation. You're like my new best friend. You're my spirit animal. Do you want
We
to
have,
come and move in with me?
we have very similar thought patterns for sure.
Um, all of this goes back to using your noggin,
Mhm.
kind of thinking your way out of this. It's no big secret, and this is not hard. It's all simple, just simple little practice steps. Even when you're talking to people that have had what I called, like I said, a little sidestep, is there like a first thing that you say, okay, we're going to unpack this, or what do you do to help them to feel better?
Well, it is all about I think about the I call it the ABCs, right? I have to be aware that there's a behavior that's not serving me in order to do anything. So I have to be aware of it first.
Mm,
And then the B is taking a deep breath so I can create some space. And then the C is choosing or changing or shifting the thought, right? Our thoughts, I love this. I don't know if I made up this word, but the word that I make up is um, our thoughts are choiceable. Like I can I can I can choose
oh,
a different thought to support me in this moment that
mm-hmm,
isn't one that's gonna beat me up and drag
mm-hmm,
me through the mud once
mm-hmm,
again. And so allowing
mm-hmm.
myself to take that ABC kind of pause whenever and we actually that actually happens kind of in the rear view mirror, like you're talking. We're looking back going, that's what I keep doing. That's the behavior that I keep doing that I is not serving me. So now let me take a completely different look at it. Can I change
Mm-hmm.
the perspective of it?
Mm-hmm.
And the only way I can do that is become aware. And then when it's there again, and I take a deep breath and try something new or shift it.
Yeah, don't you think all change is on the other side of awareness?
Absolutely.
It has to start there.
Yeah.
And I love what you said about looking in the rear view mirror. There's one year I live in Wichita, Kansas. My dad lives in Kansas City. So it's about a 2.5, 2 and 45 minute drive. And he was on his way and with his wife, and they came to this traffic jam in the middle of the interstate. And he's like texting and saying, I have no idea I don't know how far ahead where we are. I'm just completely blind here. And we are literally at a standstill in the middle of this 4 lane interstate. And I thought about it for a second. I said, Dad, look in your rear view mirror. What do you see? And he said a couple things. I said, do you see an exit anywhere? He goes, well, actually, yeah, I do. I said, turn around and go the other direction on the highway. Get off on that exit. And it may be side little towns till you get there, but maybe you can get around. And this was like 20, 30 years ago. So there wasn't a bunch of, apps and things like that to tell
Right,
you
right, right.
everything. But it just occurred to me, look in the rear view mirror,
Hmm.
and that will give you the information you need in order to go forward. Sometimes you've got to look behind you in
Exactly.
order to ever have any
Yeah.
progress.
Yeah. And we can't stay looking in the rearview mirror either because then that we won't go forward. So
Yeah.
it's that little bit of both, right? To
Mm-hmm.
use it as a tool to help us continue to move forward.
Exactly. It's a tool. All of these things are tools, which you bring up a
Mhm.
good point because I don't want everybody deep breathing all day long. You're going to get hypoxic and faint. And then we're going to have a broken bone, and then we're going to have other issues to
Yeah,
deal
yeah,
with.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh gosh,
Oh,
this has been a great conversation. I have gotten through 2 questions that I wanted to ask you of a dozen.
oh.
So can we turn this into a two-part series and have you come back and
I
we'll
would love
do
to.
part two and I'll figure out how to record this with you to, so these two recordings are in a row, week one, week two. Not that I'm
Sure.
putting you on the spot in front of everyone to where you can only answer in one way.
Paige, absolutely. I would enjoy having another conversation with you for sure.
Oh, I know. I'm so thrilled. I mean, I really feel like we're going to have a friendship
Yes,
after this.
yes.
Is there anything, though, that you would want to share with people before we leave today on part one? Now I've got to come up with a snazzy title for part one and part two, but I will get there.
I I do. I actually have I'd love to give your listeners a free gift.
Ah,
It's a ebook and it's called Body Confidence Unlocked: How to Feel at Home in Your Body no matter your age or size. And I would love to be able to share that with your audience right out of the
okay.
gate, and then we can have a more conversation, and I will come up with something else then to share with your audience. How's that?
Wonderful. Yeah, because I really want to get into the body bully
Mm,
conversation. That's like big, big, big. So there's a teaser for next week
mm.
about the body bully. Do you want to tell people how they can find your free gift, or where do they get?
Sure. Can I give you a link? Can I send you a link? And then we
Okay,
can
and
post that.
then I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, that would be
Perfect. Oh,
great.
that would be really kind of you. And do you
Super.
want to tell people the best way to find you, even though they're going to be listening next week? Go ahead and tell them today where they can find you.
Sure. You can find me, Anne Poirier. I have a Substack, so on Substack, and then on Instagram or LinkedIn. So you can find me in all those places.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. And if you want to find out more about us, you can find us at realfoodrecovery4u.com. That's the number four and the letter U. And our book, Real Food Recovery: If Food Isn't the Answer, What's the Question, is on Amazon today. Thanks, guys. See you next week. Make sure to tune in for part two. Bye, guys.